Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope you're all doing okay, having a great day and an amazing week. My name is Effie and today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a chatty video. We're doing an eyeshadow tag, which I've never done before. This is the eyeshadow palettes I didn't expect to love tag. I saw Make Me Up Missa do this quite a while ago, but I'm pretty sure the person that made it was Battybean. I'm not sure. I will leave their video and Missa's video linked in the description box down below. I'm really sorry that I've just not said her name correctly. I'll also leave the questions and links to the palettes that my answers are in the description box as well, so you can check that out. And if you want to do this tag, go ahead. I tag all of you do it. If you want to film this video, and then tell me so I can go and watch it. But basically this is just a bunch of questions about eyeshadow palettes and I'm going to answer and show you the palettes as we go through. Hope that sounds interesting. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up 2 videos a week and it's all makeup content, so if that sounds like the type of thing, then this is the place for you. You can hit subscribe down below. It's free and puts a giant smile on my face. I will say tag videos typically aren't my thing. My videos tend to involve me putting makeup on my face. In fact, this makeup look is from my current favourites video. That will be one of my recent videos. Just go back on my channel and check it out. I will leave it linked in the clickable I button if you're interested. But yeah, go and check out that video if you want to see me apply makeup. But today we're just going to be talking about eyeshadow. Eyeshadow is one of my favourite parts of makeup, so let's get on with it. Okay, so let's make a start. Like I said, I will leave the questions in the description box in case you are interested, and I will also link all of the palettes and everything that's on my face. Hopefully I will link all of that too. But let's make a start. Question number 1 is all-time favourite, and I had a bit of trouble with this because I have a lot of all-time favourites, but what I decided to see this as is what is a palette I view as being my all-time favourite forevermore. And so I picked the Beautybay Bright Matte palette. This is a 42 pan palette. It is all matte, but it has every colour I'm ever going to need, really. I don't see me really ever getting rid of this palette. I think I'm going to have this in my collection for a very long time. I'm probably going to hit pan on a lot of the shades in here. I just really enjoy this palette. This is a very firm go-to. If I need bright mattes, it has it. Even if I need neutrals, it's got it. I mean, it really does have everything that you could need to do monochromatic looks, rainbow looks, anything. I mean, obviously you have to go and find a shimmer from somewhere else, but I think this is a palette that is really going to be an all-time favourite in my collection because I'm never going to get rid of it. Question number 2 is a new favourite, and so I have thought about this and I picked a palette that I have tried this year that I have just been so wanting to pick up. Every time I want to do makeup, I want to pick it up, but I refrain myself. And so I went with the Unicorn Cosmetics Angel palette. I did test this year. I'll leave a video link down in the description box. It looks like this. This isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea. I personally love greens and pinks, so this is where I live. I just look at this palette and get so much inspiration. I will say from my testing video, the shimmer formula is not my favourite, but I can work with it and that's good enough for me. The mattes, I really enjoy these colour schemes, and the ones up here, I like the layout of the palette. It's not uniform, but I still quite like it. I'm not a big fan of browns, but the browns worked really nice. In fact, the video where I tested this, the look I did in that, I really like that look, and I have used it a couple of times since then and I have really enjoyed it. But I just look at this palette and feel inspired, and that's why it's my new favourite. Question number 3 is a palette I keep for memories. The Soph Revolution Original palette. Now this is old. The clasp is broken, so it doesn't actually clip together properly. I do have pan in one shade. I love this palette. It still works really well. I still really enjoy it, but it is old. This is one of the first palettes I ever bought, and Soph is probably the reason I'm on YouTube right now. She got me into makeup. She reeled me in, and when she brought out this palette, I went and bought it immediately, and I think that's why I feel attached to this in terms of memories. I'm not a sentimental person when it comes to makeup. I don't think I'm that sentimental, really. Like, I am a bit, but not that much. But this one does just hold a special place in my heart because it is the palette that I rushed out and bought. It's the first palette I was like, yes, I need to go and buy it. I've never been like that with eyeshadow palettes before. And the fact that it's Soph, who's the person who got me into makeup, it really is a very special palette to me. And I do think I will keep it for the memories forever. Question number 4 is an underrated palette, and I've gone for this one. This is the Kalediscopic Dreams palette. It's a collaboration between Makeup Obsession and Tiffany, whose Instagram handle is Illuminati. The palette looks like this. It's a rainbow palette. I love rainbow palettes. You're going to notice that going through. I think this palette is underrated because I never, ever see anybody talk about it on YouTube. I've only ever seen one video of it being used, and that was by Makeup by Tammi quite a few years ago. I think this is just a really nice palette. I like the layout. I'm not a massive fan of palettes that don't have a uniform layout, but I can get behind this because it makes sense, because you've kind of got the colour wheel going on. I will say these bigger pans in the corner, they are all topper shades. They don't have much of a base to them. The smaller pans next to them are shimmer shades. This silver is phenomenal. It's one of the best silvers in my collection. And then you've got the matte rainbow shades going around the middle. You've got a bigger black shade, which I personally find useful because I like to darken up my looks. You've got a lot of shades here, pretty much every shade you'd need. Kind of very similar to the Beautybay Bright Mattes palette. But I just never hear anybody talk about this, and I think this is a very beautiful, very well thought out palette. And Illuminati, the woman that made this palette, she's incredibly talented, and I just don't feel like there's ever been enough hype around this palette. I mean, even for me, I've only used it on my channel once, I think, but it is a really, really good palette. Definitely worth checking it out. Okay, this is a difficult one. Question number 5 is a palette that's not a favourite, but you can't get rid of. And I've just hyped up the earlier version of this. This is Soph's 3rd palette with Makeup Revolution. This is the Super Spice palette. And it looks like this. And I can understand you open this and you think, Effie, why don't you love it? I just don't. And it hurts me. I just don't love it as much as I love her other 2 palettes. And that's why I can't get rid of it, because I have her original and her Extra Spice, and this is the Super Spice, and I have all 3 and they fit together so well, even though this is in different packaging, which is a bit annoying, but that's fine, I can live with it. I can't get rid of it because I don't want to break up the collection I have, but this one does not live up to the other 2 palettes. I was really excited by the bright colours, but a lot of the shades I don't love. I'm not a massive fan of this shimmer shade. I'm not a massive fan of the pink or the blue or the lilac. In fact, I use the browns in this palette, most of which I'm pretty sure are the exact same shades that are in her Extra Spice palette. Like Cookie Dough is in her Extra Spice palette, Brownies is in her Extra Spice palette, there is a black in her Extra Spice palette. I used the brown shades and I really liked them, which is difficult for me because I don't use brown shades. I know I've got a neutral look on today, but I just don't really go for brown shades. So I just expected to love this more than I do, but I can't get rid of it because I can't break up the little trio I've got going on. Favourite collab. I don't have many collaboration palettes in my collection at all. I just don't have that many. Most, if not all of them, are Makeup Revolution palettes. So it is a Revolution palette, and it's the Tammi Tropical Carnival palette. Again, I have all 3 of Tammi's palettes, and you'll see that this is obviously a favourite collaboration because I've hit pan on 4 shades. I don't own any other palettes with this many pans in it. This is a great palette. This I've had for so long. I don't use it as much anymore. It's a bit old. It's, you know, I have other rainbow palettes that I prefer using, but this is definitely a palette that has been a favourite for a very, 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 very long time. This is probably my favourite of Tammi's collabs. I just love it. The shimmers aren't my favourite formula in the world. They're a bit thick, a bit chunky, a bit lackluster, but I clearly loved this palette for a very long time. Question number 7 is my 2021 favourite palette, and I had to go for this. The Beautybay Wilderness palette. This palette came out last year. I bought it immediately, reviewed it on my channel. It's now also in my project pan. It's got greens in it. That's the reason it's got greens. But also the shimmers in here I really, really enjoy. I've also done a palette play video with this palette where I choose a palette at random and create 3 looks using it. I'll leave that linked in the description box as well if I can. I do really enjoy this palette. I loved it so much last year. I still use it a fair amount now because I do use green eyeshadows a lot in my everyday life. The shimmers are stunning. There are a couple of shades in here that I don't like. For example, I don't like this Fossil shade. It's just too flaky. I'm not a massive fan of this like quadrant at all, really. I just don't care about it. Don't care too much about the reds either. Really, it's the greens and the blues that I care about. But I do really love this palette. And last year, I loved it so much. I still love it now. It just maybe doesn't get as much use as it did last year. But definitely 2021 favourite. And it came out in 2021, which is kind of ties in really nicely. Question number 8 is a palette I didn't expect to love. And unfortunately, you can't get this palette anymore. But the Lowest Cosmetics Rose Metal palette. And if I open it, you're going to see what I mean. To me, not the most exciting colour scheme. Not something I typically go for, but basically I wanted to try all of Lois's palettes, and now I do have all of her palettes, which makes me very happy, but this was the one I was least excited about. However, it is an everyday neutral-ish palette, but because it has those pops of pinks, I think that makes it better for me because I personally go for pinks over browns when it comes to neutral looks, or like toned down looks. So yeah. The mattes do appeal to me because you've got these pinky tones that are a bit better. I will say there are some shades in here, this one, that's never been used because I just don't like browns, and if I want browns I wouldn't go to this palette. But this is also in my project pan. So many of these palettes are in project pans. But yeah, I didn't expect to love this. I do like it. I guess I do love it a bit. The shimmers are really nice, they work really nice, the palette works really nicely. Question number 9 is a palette that sparks joy, and it is a new palette to my collection, but the Artitude Cosmetics Phoenix palette. I could have picked so many palettes that spark joy, quite a lot of my palettes spark joy, but this one is new and exciting and it sparks a lot of joy in me at the moment. So there are 2 duochromes. It is this one, which is a blue purple, and this one, which is a purple green. To you this one looks purple, to you this one looks blue. To me this one looks purple and this one looks green. I can't show you the duochrome shifts on camera, but they are there, I promise. What I like about this palette is I've only used it once. I've only used it in my testing video so far, but you've got the general Phoenix, orange, red, yellow sort of shades. You've got a shade that I can use as a blending out shade because it's so similar to my skin tone. But then you've also got these cooler tones down this side that I really enjoy. You've also got shimmers that are very transformative. I said this in my testing video. You could use the same mattes over and over again, but put a different shimmer on and it'll give you a completely different look. There's so many choices. This gold here I used in my testing video. I'm in love with it. I love gold shimmery eyeshadows and this is an amazing one. This palette just excites me. A lot of my palettes do, but this one's new and exciting and the novelty hasn't worn off yet. And it was sent to me in PR, which I very rarely get PR, but that excites me. So thank you to Artitude Cosmetics for sending it over, but I am really excited by this palette at the moment. Question number 10 is the newest palette in your collection, and I actually just had to grab it out of my testing drawer because I've not actually filmed with it yet, but as you're watching this video, it should be the last video that went up on my channel because I'm actually going to film with it after I film this video, and that is the Beautybay Midnight palette. I have also tested the earthy one. I do also have the Berries palette, but I've not filmed with it yet. But this one should be the last video up on my channel, so in case you are interested you can go back and check it out. I'm just going to lean back on my sofa here because it's such a big palette. It is 42 shades. The earthy palette I also have in the 42 shade version. You can get them in 16 shades and 9 shades. I obviously went for the big ones. And then the Berries palette only comes in 16 or 9. I got the 16. That video will be going up soon. But yeah, I've not actually touched this palette yet, but as you're watching this, this is the newest palette in my collection. I can't really give you an opinion on it, but it's purples and blues. I'm gonna love it, of course I am. Yeah, it looks really pretty. I have seen Make Me Up Missa do a testing video with it, and I quite liked the look she did with it. I like blue eyeshadows, I like purple eyeshadows. I imagine I'm gonna like this. But And then the final question was the first palette that I used in 2022, and now I had to research this because I could have just checked my like upload history, the videos that I've uploaded, but I pre-film a lot of videos. For example, I'm pre-filming this one. I don't know when you're watching it, probably at some point in June. I'm filming it in May. So I pre-film a lot, okay, I pre-film a lot of videos. So that wasn't really useful. Then I had to sort of look on my Instagram, but again, that wasn't really very useful either. Then I had to check like when I filmed things and things like that. So the first palette I think I used in 2022 was the Beautybay Sunset Horizons palette. Pretty sure I filmed my palette play video, and that was one of the first palettes I used. So this went up very early on in the year. I can leave that video link down below if there's space. But this is the palette. In that video, I do think I'm just gonna lean. Apparently I'm just leaning for all of these now. In the video, I did use every shade in the palette. I quite like this palette. It is a bit older. This, along with the Book of Magic palette, were the first two that Beautybay brought out in this format. And I personally think you can see improvements over the newer ones compared to this one. This is a nice palette, it works really nicely, but I think the shimmers in the newer palettes just pack more of a punch. They work a bit better, but I do really enjoy this palette. I would like to at some point hit pan on this palette somewhere, but I'm not sure if I will do that. Maybe I will. I probably will at some point, but it might take a while. But I do really enjoy this palette. It is very colourful. It's one of the first Beautybay palettes I think I ever had. So it does hold a special place in my heart. But there we go, that is the eyeshadow palettes I didn't expect to love tag. Let me know what you think of my choices. Let me know if you think I've chosen wrong on some of them. I mean, you guys know my eyeshadow palette collection. You see me use stuff all the time. Let me know if you think I've selected wrongly. If you think there's a palette I loved more in 2021, let me know. If you think there's a more underrated palette in my collection, also let me know. But there we go, those are my personal choices. Let me know some of your answers to these questions. By all means, let me know all your answers to all of these questions if you want to. I'd be very interested to hear it. But other than that, I will let you go. I'm going to end the video here. If you like it, please give it a big thumbs up. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Put up 2 videos a week and it's all makeup content, so if that sounds like the type of thing, then this is the place for you. My battery is flashing at me as always, so I'm going to go. Have a great day and amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!